On the afternoon of April 28, 2026, the city of Springfield, Missouri, experienced an atmospheric anomaly that will be etched into the memory of its 170,000 residents for generations. What began as a humid, overcast Tuesday transformed within minutes into a violent bombardment of ice, leaving the Queen City of the Ozarks looking like a literal war zone. The storm, a classic supercell with a terrifying twist, produced hail of such magnitude, measuring up to 4.5 inches in diameter, that it bypassed typical severe weather classifications and entered the realm of a historical disaster. To understand the scale of this event, one must look at the unique atmospheric conditions present over southwest Missouri that day. A powerful low-pressure system moving from the Rockies collided with an unseasonably warm, moisture-rich air mass surging from the Gulf of Mexico. The updrafts within this specific supercell were extraordinary, said Dr. Marcus Thorne, a senior meteorologist. We recorded vertical wind speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour. These updrafts were strong enough to suspend ice pellets in the freezing upper atmosphere for an extended period, allowing them to grow layer by layer until they reached the size of softballs. Gravity eventually won, and the result was catastrophic. At approximately 4:10 p.m., the first sirens wailed. By 4:22 p.m., the sky turned a bruised, sickly shade of green, a classic precursor to heavy hail in the Midwest. Then, the sound started. Residents described it not as rain, but as a constant rhythmic thudding that quickly escalated into the sound of falling boulders. The storm first made landfall in the satellite city of Republic. Here, the hail was dense and jagged. It wasn't round like marbles, said local business owner Jim Henderson. They looked like jagged crystals, some larger than my fist. They didn't just dent my roof. They punched holes straight through the shingles and the plywood. The Springfield-Branson National Airport, SGF, was directly in the path of the storm's hail core. Preliminary reports indicate that several commercial aircraft waiting on the apron sustained significant structural damage to their fuselages and tail fins. Ground crews had to scramble for cover as the ice smashed through thick terminal glass. As the cell moved northeast, it centered its fury on the historic districts of Springfield. The Rountree and Mid-Town neighborhoods, known for their century-old homes and lush tree canopies, saw devastating losses. The hail was so heavy it stripped bark from trees and shredded spring foliage, covering the streets in a green and white slush. While official figures are still being tallied, insurance adjusters are bracing for a record-breaking influx of claims. The economic ripple effects are expected to be felt for years. The Magic Mile of car dealerships on South Campbell Avenue suffered near total inventory losses. Thousands of new and used vehicles were rendered totaled due to smashed windshields and extensive body damage. Local roofing companies were overwhelmed with calls within minutes of the storm's end. We have a 3-year backlog of work created in 20 minutes, noted one contractor. The demand for shingles, siding, and glass is expected to cause localized inflation and supply chain shortages. City Utilities of Springfield reported over 10,000 power outages as ice-laden branches snapped lines. Traffic lights throughout the city were smashed, leading to gridlock during the evening commute. Amidst the destruction, stories of community and survival have emerged. At a local elementary school, teachers used gym mats to cover students as hail began to break through classroom windows. No serious injuries were reported among the children, a miracle given the size of the ice. We saw neighbors out with tarps and plywood just 30 minutes after the hail stopped, said Mayor Ken McClure in a late-night press briefing. Springfield is a city that knows how to take a punch. We are down, but we are certainly not out. The Missouri Governor's Office is currently evaluating the criteria for a state of emergency declaration. This would allow the National Guard to assist with debris removal and provide access to federal disaster relief funds. For now, the sound of Springfield is the sound of chainsaws, the crunch of broken glass under tires, and the rustle of blue tarps being nailed to roofs. The ice siege of '26 has passed, but the scars on the landscape and the community will remain for a long time. Residents across the northern Ozarks are assessing damage and cleaning up after Sunday's storms brought large hail to the region. Hail reports ranged from quarter size to at least baseball size in areas around Dorado Springs and Lebanon. The storms damaged home windows and vehicles. Stephanie Fletcher of Phillipsburg said every vehicle at her home was damaged. Every vehicle we have has damage. Every windshield is out. Our vehicles, there's 4 of them total that was parked here that hit. Most of them are going to be a total loss, Fletcher said. One vehicle, a Pontiac G6 belonging to a family friend, sustained the worst damage, with the rear windshield destroyed. Taking out the back window and the front window, it took it out, and then it poured all the rain on top of us. We've got water damage inside that one, and the Ford, Fletcher said. Fletcher said glass shops are backed up for weeks. She is working with her insurance company to file a damage claim and looking for a rental car. John Schaefer, a local insurance broker, said drivers should check their auto policies ahead of any more storms and ensure they have comprehensive coverage. If you have a liability-only car, that means no comprehensive, no collision. Your car would not be covered for hail damage. At least keep it comprehensive. That covers from if you hit a deer, if it's stolen, if it's got hail damage, wind damage, any natural acts, Schaefer said. Schaefer said if repair costs reach 70% of a car's value, the insurance company may total the vehicle. Schaefer said drivers should protect their vehicles by parking in or under something sturdy when storms approach. My one client in Phillipsburg, they had a newer car. They parked their newer car in the garage and left the old truck outside. The older truck got hammered with hail, Schaefer said. Schaefer recommends filing claims as soon as possible so repairs can begin. He also said drivers who are still paying off their vehicles should check their gap insurance coverage to avoid paying the difference if a car is totaled due to hail damage. Meanwhile, despite a Monday morning full of severe weather watches and warnings in Illinois, especially here in central Illinois, not much in the way of major problems was reported. A severe thunderstorm watch issued for most of Illinois that was to be in effect until 4 p.m. Monday was canceled by early afternoon. Dozens of thunderstorm and tornado warnings were issued throughout, at one point, dozens of counties, including Sangamon. According to storm reports submitted to the National Weather Service in Lincoln, a number of areas saw thunderstorm wind damage, including downed trees, branches, and power lines. In Springfield, there was at least one downed power line near Lake Springfield, but scattered power outages throughout the city were reported. More than 1,500 customers of CWLP were in the dark at one point. More than 3,000 customers of Ameren throughout other parts of Illinois were also without electricity. Reports on wind gusts throughout the area ranged from 50 to 65 miles per hour, and reports on hail ranged from 1 inch to 1.5 inches in diameter. Forecasters are still warning of a second round of potentially severe weather between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. A tornado watch is in effect for central Illinois until Monday at 9 p.m. After a brief hailstorm clobbered Springfield on Tuesday afternoon, City Utilities of Springfield, CU, reported more than 10,000 power outages across the city. As of 12:18 p.m. on April 28th, CU reported 10,111 electric outages, according to the CU outage map. The majority of the outages occurred in North Springfield along the I-44 corridor. Around noon, there was at least one CU region in North Springfield reporting 100% outages.
Oh, yeah.
Severe storms, including large hail, have caused power outages across our area. Kara Irwin, CU Director of Communications and Community Relations, said in an email to the Springfield Daily Citizen. There is no timeline for restoration, but crews are on scene checking the scope of the damage, Irwin said. Crews are now in the field checking damage, Irwin said. We do not have estimated restoration times yet. Once crews find the problem and begin repairs, we will share updates when we can. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration issued a severe thunderstorm watch for the Springfield area until 6 p.m., April 28th. The watch called for up to tennis ball-sized hail and damaging winds that could reach 70 miles per hour. Reports started coming in on Tuesday afternoon of cars across Springfield that were damaged by large hail. Several photos of busted glass were submitted to the Springfield Daily Citizen. Melissa Blanchard of Wisconsin was driving her in-laws' car on West Kearney Street when the storm hit. She was able to get under a canopy to protect most of their car, but its windshield was cracked in several places. She returned to find her car in worse shape, with the back window completely shattered and a side mirror's cover removed. Hail the size of a baseball came down today for about 15 minutes at about 12:30 p.m. at McAlister's Deli, 1460 East Primrose Street, said Gordon Rice, assistant general manager. On Monday, he said, it was the size of a golf ball. Yes, Rice said, the size of a baseball. I went outside to take a look, he said. The Springfield-Greene County Office of Emergency Management was too busy early Tuesday afternoon to respond to a request for any information on reported hail damage throughout the county. There was a mad dash on the Missouri State University campus for drivers trying to get their vehicles into the parking garages after an 11:45 a.m. emergency alert warning of baseball-sized hail. The warning stated, "Take shelter in a sturdy building away from windows. People and animals outdoors will be severely injured." The hailstorm is expected to impact travel at the Springfield-Branson National Airport, according to a social media post made by officials there. We are still assessing with airlines and expect impacts to our flight schedules for arriving and departing aircraft for at least this afternoon. The 12:22 p.m. post reads, "If you have a vehicle parked at the airport, you should expect hail damage. Passengers should plan to work with insurance providers on their next steps. The airport is still assessing damage to our facilities, and passengers should check their flight status often and stay weather aware throughout the day." In a state where weather is often a central character in daily life, the night of Monday, April 27, 2026, will be etched into the memory of Rockwall County residents for years to come. What began as a standard humid spring evening in North Texas quickly transformed into a scene of atmospheric violence as a series of supercell thunderstorms erupted across the Metroplex, dropping gorilla hail that shattered windows, totaled vehicles, and left thousands of homeowners facing a long road to recovery. Meteorologists at the National Weather Service, NWS, in Fort Worth had been tracking the system since early Monday afternoon. The atmosphere was primed with extreme instability, high dew points, and significant wind shear, creating the perfect cocktail for severe weather. By 7:30 p.m., a tornado watch was in effect, but the primary threat soon revealed itself to be something different: massive, destructive hail. The storm core intensified as it crossed over Lake Ray Hubbard. By 8:15 p.m., radar signatures indicated hail spikes, suggestive of objects larger than baseballs. As the storm moved through Rockwall, Fate, and Heath, the sky turned an eerie shade of bruised purple and green, a classic precursor to heavy hail. For residents of the Stoneberry and Shores neighborhoods, the sound was the most terrifying part. "It wasn't the sound of rain," said Michael Henderson, a Rockwall resident of 15 years. "It sounded like someone was standing on my roof and firing a shotgun repeatedly. Within seconds, the skylight in our kitchen just disintegrated. Glass and ice were everywhere." Social media was quickly flooded with images that looked more like winter scenes than late April. Residents posted photos of ice chunks held against measuring tapes, with some stones exceeding 2.75 inches in diameter, roughly the size of a tennis ball or a small grapefruit. In Fate, Texas, just east of Rockwall, some reports suggested stones reaching 3 inches, large enough to be fatal to anyone caught outdoors. While no fatalities have been reported, the economic damage is projected to be in the tens of millions of dollars. Local dealerships along I-30 reported hundreds of vehicles with smashed windshields and body panels that look like they were hit by hammers. For individual owners, the damage is equally heartbreaking. "My car was only 6 months old," lamented Sarah Jenkins at a local claims center. "Every single panel is dented. The insurance company says it's likely a total loss. Rockwall is now a sea of blue tarps. Roofing contractors from across the state have converged on the city. The damage isn't just aesthetic. The impact of tennis ball-sized hail can crack the decking beneath shingles, leading to immediate water leaks. The early spring blooms and vegetable gardens Rockwall residents take pride in were decimated. Local nurseries reported a surge in residents looking to replace shredded foliage and broken trees. The morning of Tuesday, April 28th, saw the community rise early to begin the cleanup. Rockwall city officials urged residents to be cautious of storm chasers, unlicensed contractors who travel from state to state following bad weather. "We are a resilient community," said a local city council member during a morning briefing. "Our priority right now is ensuring everyone has a dry roof over their heads and helping our neighbors navigate the complex insurance process." Local businesses have stepped up as well. Coffee shops in downtown Rockwall became impromptu meeting hubs for neighbors to exchange contact information for reputable local repair services. Rockwall sits in the heart of Hale Alley, a corridor stretching through the Great Plains that experiences more frequent and damaging hail than almost anywhere else in the world. As the climate continues to show signs of increased volatility, meteorologists are studying events like the April 27th storm to better understand why hail size appears to be increasing in these suburban corridors. Experts advise Rockwall residents to follow a strict protocol in the wake of the storm. Do not climb on your roof yourself. Use a drone or binoculars to check for missing shingles. Take high-resolution photos of your property and any hailstones you found, ideally next to a ruler or a common object for scale. If windows are broken or the roof is leaking, cover the areas with tarps or plywood to prevent further water damage. This is often a requirement for insurance coverage. Ensure any roofer or repair person has a local physical address and valid insurance.
The windshield can be replaced, but dents in it?
Everyone, safe flight repair, safe flight replace. Okay?